Hello, and welcome to this training camp edition of the Purple Journal podcast, brought to you by purplePTSD.com, VikingsTerritory.com, and Anderson Corporation, which is Anderson Windows and Doors. They are hiring right now. They pay really great. You get a raise every 6 months. If you like working in a warehouse, check it out. It's on our website. But I am your host, Joe Johnson, owner of purplePTSD.com and working a lot with VikingsTerritory.com, which we'll kind of talk about on the show here, which is pretty exciting. But I'm here with my best friends in the entire world. My dogs, I mean, not Joe or Luke.
That's real.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for them to chime in. The dog.
I locked them up, but I think that might make it worse since they interrupted the show last week.
That's best friends. You lock them up. That's kind of scary.
Maybe I should. Our theme song could be "Who Let the Dogs Out."
There you go.
I don't need that in my life.
That was Luke and Joe. Joe Oberle. Joe Oberle is here. He's our training camp master. He's been on fire, writing awesome articles, taking really creepy selfies with the players. Just kidding. He writes for us, obviously. He also writes for the sportspost.com. How you doing, man? Having fun down at camp?
Good. I was just introduced to Scott Studwell today, which was kind of fun.
No way.
He and Rob Brzezinski. I don't know if they want this out there, but they have been making the rounds some nights for down in camp, and they have been going to Mankato Brewery and loving it. So,
yes.
Being affiliated with them, one of the PR guys took me over and introduced me, and so we started talking beer. It was a blast.
Mankato Brewery got voted the best, I think, brew pub or beer bar in the state.
Tap room.
Okay, tap room. It's funny because my dad used to always tell me when I was growing up that he wanted to name me Studwell Johnson after Studwell. So
that'd be a pretty good first name.
They used to call me Jesse Sapolo all the time because my dad would make me play offensive line when I was like 3, and he would just blow me up and down a bottle of whiskey. Just kidding. That's Luke laughing.
We're like
laugh.
5 minutes in, and we've already gotten like 3 exasperated sighs at jokes you've made.
Yeah, well, I'm in a bad mood just because me and my dad decided to drive over to the Vikings lake situation in Egan to see where it was, and obviously all the roads were closed because they're doing a ton of construction, so it was just a giant waste of time. I wanted to get some pictures and put them on the website and stuff, but before we kind of get into it, I should probably introduce Luke, Mr. Luke Braun.
I am here.
Yay! He's a senior writer for purplePTSD.com. He's kind of a jack of all trades. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. Happy it's the weekend.
Yeah, how's life in California? I kind of want to, introduce you guys a little bit more because, as I said, we're doing a lot more work with Vikings Territory now, and I think we're going to kind of introduce ourselves to their audience a little bit with this episode. So, Luke lives down near Los Angeles, or in Los Angeles, because he's better than everybody, but
It's definitely not better. It is sweltering.
Is it?
In the summer. I live above, like, a little bit inland. I live in the San Fernando Valley, which is like a big basin that's like covered, like surrounded by mountains. So in the summer it gets unbelievable. It's like been 110 like every day.
Are you kidding?
I got stuck in San Fernando Valley once, but that's another story.
I found it amazing that because of the smog, people don't realize that there's like mountains right there, next to Los Angeles, but
yeah, you can't really see them out of. There's also like a bunch of hills that kind of cover them up.
Okay.
But you don't really notice them from in the city.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
And everything's on fire, so yeah.
Is it?
The apocalypse is here.
Yeah. Man. Anyway, it's training camp. That's exciting. It's like, I don't know if it's because we've been doing a lot more like in-depth coverage, and I try to post multiple articles a day myself, and obviously you guys have been writing on the site for a couple years now. Luke was kind of with us from the beginning. Joe has been with us for probably a year, I think, right?
Heading towards it.
Yeah. I felt like this offseason just dragged on, and I'm just super psyched that training camp is here, and there's so much to talk about. Before we get into that, I guess I'll cover this real quick since I've alluded to it like 10 times. Essentially, we've come to an agreement with the awesome people over at VikingsTerritory.com, which is pretty much the leading independent Vikings website and source of media. They do a lot of great stuff on YouTube and on social media. So basically, Purple PTSD and Vikings Territory are kind of one and the same now. It's their sister sites, almost like Twins Daily was with Vikings Journal. The sites are going to be sort of autonomous, so it's like a lot of people think that basically I was going to just put Vikings Territory as a URL and have it direct to Purple PTSD, but that's not the case. Both sites have over 10 writers and a ton of different and amazing and diverse content. And the goal for me was to I try to represent the Viking zeitgeist as much as possible, just like the range of opinions outside of the fringes who say stuff like, let's cut. I've gotten a lot of messages on Facebook from people saying we should cut Latavius Murray because he had ankle surgery. So that's not the type of stuff we
That's
want.
a great take.
Isn't it? It's it makes so much sense, you know?
I live for takes like that.
Oh, man, it's... Yeah.
Tell them to give me more. I want someone to tell us that Sam Bradford shouldn't make the team.
I guess I shouldn't be amazed, but you know, one of the guys goes, we knew he needed surgery, and it's not like a major surgery. You know, it's not a big deal. He'll be ready for the season. And the guy goes, not a major surgery. It's been 3.5 weeks, and he still isn't practicing. And I'm like, do you know how the human body works?
He's not practicing, but he's on the field working out. I saw him the other day. He's out there with Teddy and Sharif Floyd and working out, so he'll be there soon. Fear not.
One thing on that, and you're going to hear me say this a lot, but in this kind of time of year, everything that happens has an equal and opposite reaction. And with Murray on the sideline, and Jarek's been sitting out, he tweaked something or other. Dalvin Cook's been getting all of the first team reps, and basically as big of a chance as you can possibly give a rookie to prove himself. And he has, I don't know, Joe, you can maybe confirm, but he has blown the lid off of that opportunity.
He looks good. Absolutely does look good. And even before Jarek tweaked whatever he did, it's his right knee. There was a sleeve on it today. He hadn't returned to practice just to be for sure. But even before that, I saw it far too often. I was kind of amazed that Jarek would get the first rep, and then not too long behind him, maybe a couple, and then Cook's right in there. So, I mean, it's a great opportunity, and it was going to be there regardless of Jarek getting dinged or not. But that's why I wrote getting ahead of ourselves. But I wrote a story about Jarek. He's got to be on the lookout, because they certainly have in my even McKinnon said right out of the gate when he was checking in, it's going to be done by committee. But Cook's on the outside moving up fast, Luke. You're right.
And so just to there we go. I knew it was going to happen. Just to finish that thought.
Say hello to the dogs, new listeners.
I strangled my dog. We're working a lot with Vikings Territory. I want the people that listen to our show to check out their website. They have a ton of podcasts and stuff, and so we're really excited. It's just a way for us to, get our stuff out in front of a larger audience. And I think combined, we're technically the largest independent Vikings website now. So it's pretty exciting, and obviously my dog is excited about it.
Great news.
And follow everybody on Twitter, too.
Yeah.
If you're new to this, or if you don't know Vikings Territory, follow Vikings Territory on Twitter and all their writers. I'm sure you can find out who those people are.
Yeah.
Brett, Nelson, Drew, and all those guys. They're all great Vikings followers.
Totally. It's really exciting, and it's just a huge
pandemonium
step forward for us. Let's get into camp. I just broke my dog's neck, so we don't have to worry about that anymore.
R.I.P.
Joe's been down at camp this week and has been basically on fire, writing lots of different articles. I don't know which we should... since we kind of touched on McKinnon.
Yeah.
Joe, you wrote an article about him that was just posted right before we started the show. So
Well, I just noticed something with him. I mean, he's got this huge opportunity for him. Yeah, he said he was talking to reporters yesterday. He says, or today he said, I have 4 years. It's my year 4, and I don't think I've proven yet. And so he knows what's at stake, and he knows what the Vikings did in the offseason, and there's just this noticeable demeanor change. I mean, 'cause this is when you're sitting behind Adrian Peterson for those first 3 years, you're not the main guy, and when you get your opportunity, you try to execute, but the pressure is not as big. Well, now suddenly things open up, and he is the presumptive starter, and they bring in 2 guys behind him, and so it's the pressure's ratchet up, and he's just he's kind of serious. And I asked him, I said, did you approach the season any different because of what's happened? And he says, nope, it's all business. And he didn't even want to look at me. I think he was kind of he's all about business, and he's ready to give it everything he got because this is his shot.
So how is he the presumptive starter?
Just because
I figured he was like 3rd on the depth chart.
I don't know. I
think day 1 of camp it's like a seniority thing, and then however it shakes out after usually happens pretty quick.
What have you noticed then from in regards to McKinnon? It sounds like he's obviously looking at this as an opportunity, but do you feel that he's maybe a little bit upset that they brought in other people?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, there's some demeanor change there because he's usually a pretty happy kid, but I don't think upset. I think I think there was more to that statement. It's all business, and he's talking about the business of the league. Not only for him but for the team. He knows that you're just as good as what you can prove, and you're never going to have anything handed to you. They're not saying AP's gone, so you're the next man up. You got an off season to get all kinds of other people, and the Vikings did it. They're going to make their team better, and he knows he's got to prove it, and he's says, I bring versatility, and I think he has. He just doesn't have the size of Murray, who will probably, has been kind of anointed as the goal line short yardage guy.
Third down guy. I think that was announced this week by someone.
He doesn't have the flash and speed maybe he has the speed, but the flash of a guy coming in like Dalvin Cook. So he's got his work cut out for him again, but I think he's determined to. He says, I want to keep my name in the coach's mind and make sure that they know that I'm here. So.
And when you talk about Cook and him blowing the lid off of things, like, what have you guys heard about, like, or seen about him that impresses you, or maybe if there was anything that was concerning? I mean, what is he looking like?
I think a lot of people are just seeing what they talked about in the draft in person and being like, oh my god, yeah, they weren't kidding.
Like vision.
Just the fluidity the vision, the fluidity, the way he cuts, the way he can kind of dupe linebackers into, he can lure them off to the wrong side of the block and then cut to the other side. All those really nuanced veteran things that Dalvin Cook was supposed to be really good at, turns out he actually is really good at that, and it's transitioning into the league, which is exciting to hear.
And we have to remember that, there's the practices that I've seen so far this week, there's been no pads on. They've had helmets, right, and that's about it. But, it was funny. I saw him get the ball in the backfield and do a couple juke step dances, and I just got this cold chill. I said, oh my God, he's dancing in the backfield. No, don't do that. Don't be Adrian Peterson. But he does, as soon as he gets to the next level, he's making moves, and it seems to come naturally to him. And I saw him catch a pass today, and he does that fluidly, and I think he's going to be fun to watch. He's got a lot to learn. My one concern is that already there's a little bit of, Dalvin will talk on this day, and that's what they always did with Peterson. And I guess I don't want him to be anointed the guy, the star, that you have to be treated with kids' gloves for the media just yet. I don't want it to see. I mean, it wasn't overt, but people were out. He was coming by. Everybody wanted to talk to him. He talked on one of the first days that he checked in, but he hadn't said anything since. And they said he'll talk on Saturday, and it's going, He's already got that going for him.
It's a second round pick. That's different.
It is when he's got that first round grade too. So he's coming. Yeah. I don't know.
That is beyond exciting, man. I mean, I think that, and I've said this multiple times, but I think that people are really sleeping on the Vikings. And, you know, a lot of the national stuff that I've seen has basically said that, you know, the Vikings lost Peterson. What are they going to do? It's going to be a step down, whatever. But obviously Peterson hasn't played 2 of the last 3 seasons. And that brings an entire new dynamic to the offense, being able to actually, I always go back to Chester Taylor, when he would just basically run up 5 yards, turn around, and always get a dump-off pass and pick up a first down. Like, just being able to do that is exciting, and having a young playmaker. I think this offense is going to surprise a lot of people, and, you know, it's just super exciting. And part of that kind of worried a lot of people was that the new tackle that the Vikings brought in, Riley Reef, left the field with an injury, and I think Zimmer said he's going to be fine. But did you witness that, or what's sort of the news on that?
I didn't see that one happen, but in fact I don't know exactly what happened, but I did know that he was carted off, and he, of the 3 people that were injured, did not return today. And Zimmer talked to some of the beat reporters this afternoon and told them that you know, he's injured. He wouldn't say what it was.
Minor injury.
He didn't think it was
twinge.
Twinge. Yep. I just saw that.
That was the word.
Yeah.
And he said this afternoon that he didn't think it looked serious. So that's good news. But, you know, here it is. You almost figure like, you know, the guy's never been injured in his career, and as soon as he comes to the Vikings, then boom, happens the
purple and gold, man.
First practice.
And
diseased.
Off the air, you talked
real
about,
quick.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Carted off
Who is your most
he was golf
underrated
carted
player in
away
the
from the
NFL,
field
and
because
why?
I think it was hot and it's a long walk. Not like the medical cart that you see on the field when a guy like breaks his leg on the foot. Not a different kind of cart, which probably looks a lot less serious than like the typical meaning of carted off.
Right. Yes, right. Yeah, I totally agree. That's exactly what it was.
Isn't that weird that he gets carted off, but they had to carry Teddy off the field?
Well,
did they carry? No, maybe I'm thinking of Adrian Peterson. Never mind. When he got injured last year, they kind of carried him. Speaking of injuries,
they ran a ambulance right up to where Teddy was laying.
Yeah, I'm wrong. Yeah, they carried AP off the field.
Oh God, I don't want to think about that ever again.
I am so happy. I mean, this is not a relevant take really, but I'm super happy that the Adrian Peterson stuff is over. You know.
I did hear today that Adrian's pretty pumped that his Saints jersey is the top seller in Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesotans, what are you guys doing? Come on now.
That's right.
Like, come back to us, Minnesotans.
I suppose Teddy's injured, and you know we have a lot of new players.
Dalvin Cook, come on.
You'd think so, you know. I don't buy jerseys anymore because every person that I have jerseys for ended up kind of being a bust. Michael Bennett, who's in prison, I'm gonna wear that to camp.
Please do that.
There's still people still hanging with Trump. So what are you going to do?
Yeah,
that's a bad comparison.
No, it's relevant. But speaking of injuries, I think you off the air you mentioned that you witnessed Adam Thielen. Hurt and kind of chuck his helmet.
It was an out to the sideline, and actually, Mackenzie Alexander made a great play on the ball and dove in front of him and picked it off. And so everybody's jumping up and down on the defense and cheering. And all of a sudden you see Thielen, who was kind of fell behind him, get up. He stands up and he takes his helmet and violently throws it to the ground, bouncing it to where his mouth guard goes flying. You know, similar to how Joe and I saw last year at camp with that. Exactly. And he limped very visibly, and then he started kind of pulling at his left knee and stretching it out. So he's like, okay, maybe not so bad, but you kind of couldn't see him for a while. And I was talking to one of the writers today, said he did by the end of practice, he did go back out in the field, and he was back out there today with a sleeve on his knee, and he was running and involved in everything. So I had asked one of the PR guys last night. He said, "Oh, it was just a tweak. He's fine, no problem." So that was good to see. You hate to see, first practice, 3 guys going down. Oh my goodness.
Important guys too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's knock on wood.
I love that though. I love he thought his season was over for a second. That's just devastating, and
it's got to be.
He immediately assumed the worst. He's a true Minnesotan.
He is an intense individual too. He's got this calm demeanor when he's talking in media, but there is a fire. I mean, I've talked to people who've played golf with him, and he is really tough on himself when he's playing golf. And that, former state champion with Detroit Lakes, but he's a good golf. Yeah.
Oh, no way. You're a big golfer, aren't you, Joe?
I'm a golfer.
Are you familiar with what's going on with Hiawatha Golf Course?
Yeah, They're
gonna probably shut it down.
Yeah, it looks like it's too bad, but they can't get that pumping the water situation. So
I was on the golf team at Minneapolis South in high school because a lot of the hockey players were, and spent a lot of time over there. So I think it'd be cool to have a sort of a central park in Minneapolis, let it go back to nature, and you can, go on paths and stuff. That'd be pretty neat.
They unfortunately just put a lot of money into it too, so it's
it floods all the time.
Yeah, it does. I used to play there quite a bit.
Yeah, sometimes you had 10 feet on the fairway down the middle, otherwise it was just water hazards because it flooded so crazy.
Playing golf in high school is the smartest move there is. I try to get my kids to do it. Hey, free golf, come on,
free driving range, man.
Get out of school early,
It's like being in band in middle school. You get out of class all the time. Back to football. Another injury-related thing was Teddy gave his first press conference since his injury. And I think, Joe, I saw you in the Star Tribune. Joe sent me a picture, and it's in the article that I wrote about Teddy's presser. And if you look in the Star Tribune, I'm pretty sure on the left there's Joe actually taking that picture with his phone. It's super meta. It's I have a picture of him. The paper has a picture of you taking that picture.
Really?
So, you're famous, man. I'm pretty sure it's you. You should check it out. But, a lot was said in that press conference. If you want to kind of go through the long and short of it.
Well, if you want to look, go for it. I sat in on it and took some shots, and I guess my impression was we all expected another Teddy press conference. That he's pretty adept at not saying too much and not saying anything controversial, and he batted away a number of questions about when are you going to come back? What's the prognosis? What's going on? He wouldn't talk about those, but he didn't cut open a vein, but he was somewhere in between where he was letting us in a little bit inside, which was nice for the media after not having been able to talk to him since the injury.
Yeah. I know he talked about his mom's cancer and how he's using that as a source of strength, and that the biggest thing I took was that no doctor told him that it could be career-ending. And so that's a positive. And he's talked to other players. He said that have had similar injuries. Frank Gore was one of them. I don't know if Frank Gore specifically had an injury like that. I can't really remember.
I was surprised by that, too. I didn't remember that. I know he's had some knee injuries, and maybe that's that. But I thought there was just one or two other guys that have had this in the history of the league, the way as devastating as Teddy's. I can't remember.
And Luke is probably the biggest Teddy fan that we have on our site. So
Go, Luke. Go, Luke.
Am I?
Go Gadget Luke.
Definitely. I
Maybe
just
Justin.
Emotionally, I want to be his best friend forever, and I want to hang out with him and play. I love Teddy emotionally. I haven't watched a Teddy press conference in a long time because they're usually pretty, garden variety, and usually just kind of drops some platitudes and never says anything.
Football answers.
Yeah, which is fine, but I don't know. He just inspires you in a way that. I remember I actually started writing for this website because of Teddy, because after the Blair Walsh field goal, I watched Teddy's press conference afterwards, and the words he said was basically never quit, always grind, and it just inspired. I was I have been thinking about, writing about Viking stuff for a long time, and after watching that press conference, I was I'm going to start now.
That's really
cool. He just inspires you in a way that you never really thought a football player 1,000 miles away from you could. And I think the fact that he like opened up in that presser and he got emotional about it, he talked about the support of the people playing around him and how he remembered that moment and everything. Through all the pain, he remembered like the support of it. I want this to be Teddy's team forever.
It's so funny that I didn't know that, and it kind of explains our demeanor or the approach we take in our articles because, and I've said this a million times, but you started writing because of Teddy, I started writing because of Trey Waynes, and essentially as a middle finger to Reddit, which
out of spite.
I love Reddit. The Minnesota Vikings community. I got some friends over there, and a lot of our writers actually come from there, so a lot of the drama is gone. But yeah, I think you're a lot safer starting because of Teddy instead of Trey Waynes. But at the same time, I've heard that he's been doing some good things. Joe, I don't know if you've witnessed him. Somebody posted that he shut down Diggs on a deep route.
Yes, he did. It was one of the first long passes of the of training camp for the veterans. It was a long, deep route, and he made an awesome move where he vaulted in front of it, batted it away just as it was going to drop into his hands. I said, okay, I'm not sure I've not seen that. Once again, no pads, blah, 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 your own team. But it was a nice play. It was really great to see, and I'm hopeful for this guy. I mean, they want him to step forward and take that position and make it his, and maybe he finally feels he's ready.
That's really impressive too, because I saw a video on Reddit. Speaking of Reddit, that I guess the NFL now can track the speed of the players, and they said last season the Vikings had 2 of the top 10 fastest guys, and one of them was Diggs. Coming out of a route, he was going like 23 miles per hour. So the fact that everyone knows Waynes is fast, but Diggs runs such perfect routes, and he actually gains speed during his cuts, which nobody does. So that's good news. And
he looks really fast. I thought, I don't know if anybody. Yes, I thought a couple times. It's like somebody flat runs by him, going, "Is that one of those new rookie receivers?" Oh God, it's 14. Good. He looks quick.
You wrote about.
I'm gonna throw a little.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Can I throw a little cold water on all this real fast? For one, I did hear that Diggs got the better of Waynes on a like he just ate Waynes on a in route or something, just like threw a nasty route on Waynes and got him. And that leads me to when you're not in pads, but just in training camp in general, every time somebody wins, another person loses, and all of these plays, the results of them, we have to understand that like they have very little evaluative merit.
Yeah, I mean,
they can't do bump and run at this point either. So
right. Which with physicality, I do remember there being some trouble with Waynes there when physicality got. But
you got to wear boxing gloves.
All of that aside, just because we've talked a lot about like highlights and stuff, and I just want to make sure that everybody knows that we understand that like this isn't an end all be all, and this doesn't even guys who have had like really good, consecutive days and strung a lot along. Like we know that like we have to see it in a game, and we know that we have to before we can, but we can get excited, and that's okay.
I think that's true except for one exception, which is Mobo, who burned Sendejo, and I think that validates everything I've said about him.
Did you see that highlight though? I'm sorry, I'm gonna throw more cold water on that. They put it. The Vikings uploaded that, and the route was trash.
Was it?
Sendejo just messed up, I think.
Yes, he did.
It really looked like he stumbled out of it, and it was not very fluid.
Yep, I agree. I saw it live, and that's what everybody we were sitting there watching said. Yeah, it's nice for Mobo, and it looked like he stumbled a little bit, and
Zimmer, real quick, Zimmer did say that Mobo's had some noticeable improvements, which is cool.
Well, it's too early. I mean, excuse me, Luke, but this is why I get frustrated. Everybody, every time Zimmer is doing a press conference, people are asking, "Well, how's this guy look? How's this guy look?" Well, you're 2 practices in, as of this week, and there's no way there's going to be any assessment made. And the other thing with Zimmer, he says it every year, and he's going to say it very soon, I suspect, if he hasn't already. Well, I'll wait till we get the pads on. Because they might look good in all this 7-on-7, 11-on-11 with that's not live and just helmets and nothing else. It's great. It's but it's not football. And until it is, just as Luke is saying, I'm heaping a little cold water too, because you gotta temper the excitement a little bit. But
people just the training camp drags on. People just are so excited to see the guys on the field again. It's sort of my favorite time of year. I love training camp. And we were talking about Trey Waynes, and I threw out the mobile thing, but you did also write, Joe, an article, I think yesterday, about Mr. Terrence Newman, and people should really check it out, because these articles are not to be hyperbolic at all, but your articles are amazing, man. So people should really check out the site and everything. But yeah, if you want to kind of talk about that piece.
Cold water on that, Luke. Just kidding. No, it's I figure I got to write an article about Newman before he starts getting
before he dies of natural causes.
Oh, but just they're going to phase him a little bit. They're trying to make Waynes the corner, and I think Newman knows it, that his role is evolving a little bit. He'll still be in there. He's still decent. He's hardly on the field in the practices that I watch, because he is 39, and seniority has old age has its privileges. But and he knows what he can do. They know what he can do. So I'm just amazed that he's still out there. And like you were saying earlier, that he just looks in such great shape for and I think you got to have leaders like that. You got Robeson still around. You got him around. It's important.
Griffin got extended.
Yeah, it's important to have those guys out there. But
we should talk about that.
Yeah,
that happened.
Yeah,
more is going to happen. We're going to start shelling out that money.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for Bradford to happen, because I was predicting that, but that one surprised me.
Totally. I think you're right about that, but one of the biggest arguments I get in when I talk to people that I run into, and when I see someone with a Viking shirt or whatever, I'll always talk to them about the site. And Minnesotans always have this narrative that owners don't pay, and I hear it probably once or twice a month from people that, the Vikings, Minnesota's a small market, so that's why the owners don't pay for the Vikings. I'm like, what are you talking about? The Wilfs are great owners, and I don't know if they get enough credit for that. They've never hesitated. I know people get angry about public funding for the stadium, but that's just a necessary evil. But they did put a lot of money into it, and when things needed to be upgraded or fixed, like the panels that are falling off, they're paying out of pocket for that. And so I think that, like Luke just said, there's going to be a lot more contracts, and they've never hesitated to put money out there when they need to, as much as you can talk about NFL contracts actually being, putting money out there. But Griffin got, I think it was $35 million guaranteed and $53 million or something like that over the course of, 4 years?
It was, I believe, 38 injury guaranteed. I don't know what the full guarantees are, but it's less. And it's one of those pay-as-you-go kind of scale-up contracts. So it's like $8 million this year, and then like $10 million next year, and it kind of scales up as the contract goes on, all the way through 2022.
Yeah,
but that's quite a deal for Griffin.
He's going to retire a Viking.
Yep.
He said he wanted to be a Viking,
which is awesome.
Life, which is like, he's an underrated player, man. Our defense has so much talent on it. I don't think people, especially nationally, give him any credit.
And that's fine. I don't even care about that.
Neither do
I. I agree with what you said about the Wilfs. As far as they're not afraid to pay players. I could care less, or I couldn't care less if that they have to pay out of pocket to fix the stadium that they built. But I think the rap is for this area is pretty bad. It's a small market. That is, it's always the Twins' reputation.
That's exactly it. It bleeds over from the Twins.
But now, look at Glenn Taylor. He's trying to get Kyrie Irving over here. Yeah, all these guys. So
I know we're a football website, but that is like I had season tickets to the Timberwolves for a couple of years, and they're my second favorite sport. That would be, honestly, we might have to start a Timberwolves PTSD site if Kyrie Irving shows up. That's all I'm saying.
Blues
Yeah,
PTSD.
Luke, what do you think about the Griffin signing? Do you think that it was fair market value?
I don't know where it lands in the realm of other defensive ends, but I think that in general the idea of pay the hell out of Everson Griffin is something I support. He's been, not only is he a very good edge rusher, which has a lot of value. Edge rushers are probably one of the most expensive positions to pay.
Yeah.
He's also, you could argue he's the face of the franchise. With uncertainty surrounding Teddy, there's less uncertainty now that we've seen him out on the field and we've seen him do rehab and stuff. But in the event that, Teddy doesn't come back at full go, or if he's, the worst happens and he's not going to be the quarterback for the next 10 years or whatever, Everson Griffin's the face of the franchise.
What about Harrison
He's
Smith?
the voice, he's the leader.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Harrison Smith isn't in the huddle getting everybody riled up,
Yep.
Everson Griffin is our Ray Lewis. He's that, and not to mention, an amazing story of maturation with all the stuff he went through at USC and all the stuff he went through in his first couple of years here, being a 4th-round pick, working his way up the roster, the first contract that he got and all the flack the Vikings got for that, and now he's just like a household name that, he doesn't get a lot of national attention, but that's because he's been good for so long, nothing's changed.
Yeah.
He's not a talker because he's just consistently good all the time. Like, what are you going to do in a national? Yeah, Everson Griffin, yeah, still good. Okay, there's your talker.
He's a freaking beast, man, like physically. I don't know if there's many defensive ends that look like.
There's one on the other end of the line.
That was my segue. I was going to say, what do you guys think about, obviously, Robeson had a good year last year. I think he exceeded a lot of people's expectations just because of his age. But don't want to say Danielle Hunter. Danielle Hunter. There you go.
Danielle, like at the end of the game, when you're winning the game, you take Danielle.
That guy's a specimen. I was standing next to him in a scrum the other day, and I looked, and he's got muscles.
Veins. Isn't he like super vascular? Like I saw a picture of him where he's like.
I try to get a muscle come to my bicep to come up. He's got him coming out sideways from his head. Oh my God, what is that? But he's in like I said, raw athletic talent who's got it. He's figured it out, and I think he's going to have a monster year this year. They're going to have trouble defending the ends on this team if they're going to he's going to get the same kind of playing time that. Griffin gets, But
did you guys see Eric Kendricks on NFL Network this week?
Nope.
I did not.
Okay, he was in the studio. They interviewed him for about 20 minutes. They talked about his thoughts on what they need to do to overtake the Packers and win the division. And basically, one of the guys was really cool. He said, I think the Vikings are going to play like they did before the bye this year. I think everything's lined up for them to really make a run. But Kendricks, his general assessment was that the defense just needs to stay motivated and consistent. And he talked about Green Bay and sort of how they've been inconsistent in regards to technical things, like not just effort, but not really doing things technically the right way. So I don't know. It was interesting to see Kendricks on there and see what his thoughts were on how the defense kind of fell apart last year, and it was more reported as, obviously there was a motivation issue, but they were on the field a lot, and then they got tired, and then people get sloppy. But I really think that this defense is going to be, we got all 11 starters coming back for the second year.
For now.
Yeah, knock on wood. But
if you just look at the defensive line, and by the way, we have had Barr lining up at defensive end a little bit, which I don't know if Eric Eager, who's a Pro Football Focus guy, but he's also avid member of Vikings Twitter. I don't know if he listens to the show, but that's something he's been harping on a lot over the offseason, wanting just move him to defensive end. He's best as a pass rusher, just let him do it.
Yeah.
Which I think he has an interesting point. It's interesting to think about, but that is a lineup that we've seen so far. So if you take him and Hunter, Linval, Everson, Robison, and a lot of guys, Dayton Jones, and a lot of guys that can like move around and be different. Like, what in the world do you do if you're an offensive line coach or an offensive coordinator trying to prepare for the Vikings pass rush? You have no idea what it's going to look like because it can look 1,000 different ways.
Yeah,
that's what Zimmer's defense is all about. That's running Harrison up, faking the blitz or not, and pulling back, and it's all that kind of different looks. It's exactly what he wants.
Isn't it what the Packers used to do with Clay Matthews before they just kind of screwed up and moved him back?
I think so.
He's old now.
Yeah,
he'd show up on the other side of the line.
Washed.
So we have a couple other things I wanted to touch on. One thing, since I just brought the Packers, was the quote from Alex Boone, who is quickly becoming my favorite person in the entire universe. Somebody asked him what his thoughts were or how he planned to stop the Packers from going to the Super Bowl at U.S. Bank Stadium this year, since we're hosting the Super Bowl, and he said that the Packers would get there over his bleeping dead body, which is like the perfect answer, and kind of relieving in 2017 that he would say something like that. So
cold water alert. That's Boone. I mean, he knows what to say, and which is perfect for the media and perfect for the fan. So yesterday, down at the end of the field, we're all standing down there. Some VIPs and some media are standing at one end of the field, and the linemen are coming over to this sled apparatus or something, and they're saying people are doing us out of the way, get out of the way, and someone said, "Oh, just run him down." And he says, "Oh, don't tease me," just anything to get that laugh, to get, knows how to play to the crowd and to the media when the cameras are rolling. And he's only been here, what, wasn't it 1 year?
Yep.
I don't know if he's built up the animus towards the Packers that exists in this.
Well, he had that fight with Clay Matthews or something when he was in San Francisco.
It was like he started talking crap about the Packers in his first like media phone conference call for when he got signed.
Yeah,
he knows what to do.
He knows the audience. It's definitely what it is, and it works. I'm a nerd.
I love it.
That kind of stuff.
I hope that's how they all feel. Tell that to your teammates.
Totally.
Because that is. I was speaking to a fan who writes for the Mankato Free Press, and we were talking, and I said, I don't care what happens, just so that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Do not Packers on the field.
Oh God, please no. He's if he's going to line up next to Pat Elflein, if Elflein does win the center job, which he's making progress.
I've heard that. I've heard that he's been out there with the first team. Somebody told me.
Yeah, he's been touching it.
I think that's a tight race.
If you have Boone next to Elflein, Easton's been playing better than you expected. But Elflein is mean out there. If you watch his tape, I mean, he clocks people who don't need to be clocked. He's a look for work kind of guy. He's just so those two. That's a couple of mean rabid boys out there.
Well, they said that Sperano likes maulers.
And Zimmer
that's what Peters was supposed to be.
Yeah, Zimmer likes attitude on his offensive line. So.
Oh, it's so awesome.
But
and we have a couple minutes left.
Luke Inman at Zone Coverage also said Elflein. He's really, really happy with the way Elflein looks so far. Although they're not in pads yet, so you can't really tell.
Yeah, totally. Cold water alert, number 50. We have about
Cold water edition of Purple Journal podcast.
That's actually what I'm going to name it. We have about 12 minutes left, and I know, Luke, you wanted to kind of delve into some deeper takes from camp, and not just the flashy players that everyone wants to talk about, including myself. So, yeah, you got the mic.
So I've been doing the Camp Battle series. Hopefully people have been looking at those.
They have.
So I've been really, delving into the deep roster, the guys on the edge, the guys who don't have a chance to make the team, all these guys. And there are some guys who have been really sticking out. RJ Shelton's had a really good few games. He's the wide receiver out of, I think, Michigan State.
Yes.
I think in a conversation on Twitter with someone, I called him a disparaged, gambling-addicted homeless man's Percy Harvin. But he's had a couple of pretty good plays. I've been hearing a ton of good things about Ifedi Odenigbo, the Northwestern defensive end. That's a pronunciation I've been working on.
It's like crazy.
But he's been making fools out of some of these deep roster tackles, and he's been having a good day. And Elijah Lee, the 7th round linebacker, who everybody mocked Elijah Lee to us in like the 5th, and we got him in the 7th, and it looks like he's, living up to that rosterable ability. And that'd be really cool if he could climb his way up the roster and maybe even, push the guys at that wide open weak side linebacker spot.
So much opportunity. You're right.
Oh, and Kentrell Brothers got hurt. Did we talk about that? He pulled a hammy. Or he did a hammy.
Yeah.
He went down on the sideline on a pass and clutched his leg and had to be helped up, and it looked really bad. I don't know if we heard anything yet. I haven't looked and see if Zimmer said anything about him, but it looked like it could be pretty bad, which is, obviously pretty bad news for the linebacker depth, but it's great news for Ben Gedeon, who is his chief competition at the backup to Kendricks. And if you move Kendricks outside to will linebacker, then it would have been a competition between Brothers and Gedeon for that middle linebacker spot.
Yeah, it says the most recent news is he left on a cart also, and it was a left hammy. That's basically all they got on it. So.
Yeah, and it looked like it wasn't a cramp, which is a bummer.
So
maybe to get all their injuries out of the way in camp, and so they'll be fine for this.
Yeah, do them now while you have time to recover.
And at least it's
Brothers is a special team stud too, so he'd be missed.
At least we're not the Cowboys who are replacing injuries
they're
with
dropping like
getting
flies.
arrested. And then they cut that receiver.
Or not
who
getting
actually
arrested in the
didn't
case
do
of Lucky
anything,
Head.
which is funny.
Yeah.
Or sad, but he got picked up by the Jets, I think, so that works out.
Does it?
When it comes to like the deeper guys too, like Joe, have you seen anything from Rodney Adams or Stacy Coley?
You'll see him make a play here and there. I can't say I focused on him because I was, watching other players. But, I wasn't at the second practice today. I was just at the one practice yesterday and the walkthrough. So it's still a small sample size. It's early, and they get their opportunities, but haven't seen them stand up.
Have they been using Adams in the slot at all? Have you seen?
I couldn't answer that.
Well, then
Jarius
why are
Wright.
you here?
Jarius Wright made a huge touchdown grab yesterday.
And he got really angry on like social media, I heard, and was saying like people that think he's going to get cut are idiots or stupid or something. And
oh yeah, he had a great interview. Y'all should go to the Vikings website and watch his interview. Yeah. I think it should be on there.
Is it with Wabi?
He ripped into his haters. It was awesome.
I think if there's anybody in camp he's got to be the guy with the biggest chip on his shoulder, and I say more power to him, because I was in a couple stories I've written already, in the off season, I was saying he's on the bubble, he's in trouble, because he didn't get any play last year, and I'm starting to rethink it. If he's got a little attitude about that fires him up even more, he's gonna there's gonna be opportunity for him, and he knows the offense. He's been around the longest, and if he's got coaches that can give him the opportunity to play, then hey, more power to him, and love to see it.
I think he's got a lot of stuff that was working against him last year that isn't working against him now, and that's important.
There was an article that came out, I think, earlier today or last night that had said something about specifically why he kind of got lost in the shuffle between Norv and Shermer. But I wanted you guys' take on this because when I was on the Purple FTW podcast the other week, Andy Carlson hates Jarius Wright like with a passion, and he said that Jarius Wright, and maybe we kind of touched on this, but he said he isn't a slot receiver, he just plays the slot because he's small, and that he's not like
Andy picks a guy every year to be like this one.
Okay.
Andy, I mean, not that he's like stupid or doesn't know anything or anything like that, but I think in his own words, he always picks a mortal enemy. And he's been trying to trade Jarius Wright for like 2 years.
Yeah, I think
my only criticism I've ever had about Wright is, he's quick. I was talking to some guy from the Vikings staff the other day, and he was saying how quick he is, how fast he's a good route runner. I told him, I said, my only criticism is he's a smaller guy, and he just doesn't break enough tackles for me. He makes the play, he makes the catch, and it's like someone gets a hand on him and he goes down. I've been watching him closely, and he's gotten a little better at that, but I just wish he would break more tackles once and get a little yards after the catch. But, hey, when you have Bradford thrown to you, get open, get the ball. That's what you're supposed to do.
And one thing that I didn't put on our talker list that obviously is kind of a big talker. So I apologize for not doing that. So you guys could look into it a little bit more. But looking at who's going to be the kick returner, have you seen people like who they got back there and who, obviously they're just standing back there and they're not really like doing anything. But do they have
it's way. No,
Rodney Adams back there, or is it like who's going to return kicks?
I think they're going to run a whole group of people back there and give them all a shot at it. They haven't done much special teams yet.
They've had like 4 or 5 guys back doing punts. I assume that's also analogous to kicks. They've had Coley and Adams back there. I think Thielen's been back there. I think Cook's been back there. They've been or sometimes people are just like hanging out over there, and it's hard to tell if they're like part of the drill or not. But we'll see. I think we'll see more in the preseason.
Definitely.
And they actually start doing the dedicated drills.
There was something that came out about a week ago that said Mike Prefer wants to use Dalvin Cook as a kick returner. So.
Good luck.
I don't want that. Keep him fresh. I don't want him to come onto a drive having just sprinted 25 yards on a kick return and got hit.
I agree. I really am, and this is probably because I was at the preseason game where Greenway blew out his knee, like at the first preseason game on the first kick. And I'm just not a big fan of putting your top draft pick in special team situations.
No, it won't happen.
It says he's lobbying for it, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Plus, Rodney Adams is good at it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
He's kind of a poor man's Patterson, I think, in regards to.
I think he's actually really close to Patterson in terms of skill. Patterson had things that he can't do that I think Rodney Adams can.
I heard George Edwards once Dalvin Cook on play slot, a nickel corner.
Punter.
He's got the explosiveness.
Everybody wants him.
Measurables.
Randy Moss was our backup punter. I have pictures of him just booming the ball. That guy was so freaking just talented.
Remember when Everson Griffin was a punt gunner?
Yeah, it's not that long ago. It's not like 2 years ago tops.
How scary would that be? Seeing that.
And he was good at it.
He was very good.
Patterson was good at it.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, Patterson was the guy last year. I think the year before was Griffin.
But with that, I think we can kind of wrap things up. Is there anything you guys wanted to plug, or any final thoughts?
Tune in to on Tuesday. My Camp Battle series will come to a close with the specialists. I haven't written about like punters and kickers yet, and there will also be a full roster prediction there. So tune in for that.
And it kind of a elevator pitch style. Let people know the nuance of your Camp Battle pieces, because they are different in a good way, and I want people to understand that.
It's not what you're going to see. Joe, you're doing a roster analysis series, which I think is a lot closer to what when people hear Camp Battles, what they're looking for.
Yeah. Right.
And I think Yinka Ayinde is doing one on Daily Norseman. I know Sam Ekstrom did one on Zone Coverage a while back. Mine's a lot different in the fact that it's background, and it's a lot less evaluation. So it's not like this is who's going to win and this is who's. It's more about like these guys are fighting for this spot and this is what they have to lose.
Yeah.
And kind of I'll let the viewer. Yeah, it's a lot more personal. It's a lot more about their story. It's a lot about their background and where they went to college and why that matters. A lot of people like chose a small school so they could stay home, and it led to them being undrafted when maybe they could have been drafted if they had accepted the offer from Alabama.
Yeah.
There are a lot of Vikings that have that, or whether or not they declared early and stuff like that, and just kind of where they're coming from and where they're at in their careers. There's a lot of really interesting stories that you don't think about, like Bishop Sankey. People forget he's on the roster at all. He's a really interesting story, and he's got a lot at stake.
Yeah, man, and I, admittedly, I was one of the kind of cold people when it came to cutting players, and Joe, being my, as I always say, reluctant mentor, when we were over at Vikings Journal, he kind of taught me that, like, these are human beings, and it's like their dream, and, so it's really good for people, because I do think a lot of people just, especially like we talked about earlier, their default is to cut somebody, and I don't think they take into account that these are people with lives, And so I think it's a really cool way to frame the articles, and so definitely people should check those out. Like you said, they'll be up on Tuesday.
Everything's up there except for like kickers, but every other position group's been done.
And Joe,
my plug is for those 21 and older, Mankato beer.
Yeah.
So there you
go. Check it out, man. I've been there. We did a Q&A for back in the day in Vikings Journal. Took a party bus down there, and I actually on Facebook they give you those reminders like here's a picture from a year ago or 2 years ago. Just on Tuesday I got the pictures that from that day, and it was just it was a really great time. People should definitely check it out, or they can go to I think Elevated Liquor Store in South Minneapolis, McDonald's Liquor in South Minneapolis, a few other places, and they can pick up like a sample pack or whatever. It's good stuff, man.
But I'll be going down to camp next week, couple days, and doing sending back some more missives from Mankato. So looking forward to it.
And I'll be down there on Saturday, next Saturday for the scrimmage. I'm intending on, and I cleared this with the PR department. You can do video, but you can't do live video like Facebook Live or anything. So I want to kind of do like a vlog of like here's me at training camp and this is what I'm seeing and so on and so forth. Like
you step on Rodney Adams' territory like that?
Like Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad.
They broke protocol and let people live stream Teddy's press conference, and then right after it was over, they announced to all the media there that said, "Okay, now it's back to normal. There's no more live streaming, none of that goes on."
So it'll be cool. I think we with the Vikings territory stuff, I think we're really looking at expanding into new media and doing a lot of video. Vikings territory has about 400 Facebook subscribers, and they've only really been working on it for a couple, like maybe a few months. So look forward to that. We're really going to be growing and expanding our relationship with Vikings territory. And with that, I want to end the show so I can murder my dog. Check us out on Facebook, purplePTSD, Twitter, purplePTSD. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back next Wednesday with more amazing and awkward content. Skol!